This may be your last chance to escape what is to come. Something very serious and profound has been revealed, and I cannot let you remain unaware of it. The Virgin Mary's last message was delivered with a clear purpose: to prepare the chosen ones for dark times. And if you are watching this video, it is because you have been chosen to receive this message now. But pay close attention. Not everyone will understand it. Not everyone is prepared. Only those with a strong spirit and an open heart will understand. You may be wondering, why is it so important that I watch this video until the end? It's simple. If you don't listen to everything that will be revealed, you will be ignoring a crucial warning, and the consequences can be devastating. It's not just about curiosity. It's about protection, about faith, about being prepared for something much bigger, something that is already happening at this very moment and that you need to know before it's too late. Don't think that this is just another religious message. What is about to be revealed here is not for everyone. It is for the few who still believe, for those who know that the world is changing and feel deep in their souls that something great is coming. If you're here, it's because this message was intended for you. And let me be clear, not watching the video to the end can cost you much more than you imagine. This is an urgent message, and it is not just advice, it is a call. The Virgin Mary has sent us a warning, and ignoring it can be the biggest mistake of your life. Are you ready to find out what comes next? Are you ready to discover how to protect yourself from what's to come? Now, before we continue, I need you to make a decision. Watch this video to the end and prepare yourself or risk being completely unprotected. What is at the center of this revelation is very serious, and the consequences will not be limited to borders. The shadow of what is to come will spread far beyond, and only those who listen carefully to every word will have a chance to face what is to come. I understand that what I'm saying may sound heavy, but when the Virgin Mary appeared with this last message, she was clear. Difficult times are ahead. The fate of many is at stake, and only those who are spiritually prepared will have the strength to face the challenges ahead. His warning was not vague, and his words continue to resonate today. Prepare yourself, seek refuge in faith, and do not ignore the signs. I want to help you understand what this warning means, but to do that, you need to pay attention until the end of this video. Every word is crucial. Every detail can be the difference between being protected or vulnerable. Imagine a silent war, political pressures and spiritual trials. These are not predictions. They are realities that are already beginning to unfold, and you need to be ready. Do not ignore what is going to be said. Your spiritual and emotional protection depends on it. Now stop what you are doing, concentrate. If you came this far, it's not by chance. This is the decisive moment. Click the subscribe button to ensure you receive more of these revelations before it's too late. Leave in the comments the names of the people you want to protect with the powerful prayers that will be shared. Don't go now. Don't get distracted. What is to come can change everything. This is your last chance. Get ready, because the last message of the Virgin Mary begins now. Before we continue, I would like to make a special request for all of you, something that has already become a tradition here on our channel. Share in the comments where you are watching us. It is incredible for us to see how far our messages are reaching and how they are connecting people around the world. So tell us the name of your city, your country, or that special place where you follow us from. We love feeling that connection, knowing that even though we are distant, we are all together. Now that you know how urgent and important what will be revealed is, let's dig even deeper. What you are going to hear here is not an ordinary message. It is a direct and extraordinary revelation. We are talking about the last message of the Virgin Mary, sent to alert those who are spiritually ready. And if you are here, it is because something bigger brought you to this moment. It's not a coincidence. It is essential that you understand this revelation. It is not for everyone. Only those with a receptive heart and an open soul will be able to absorb the depth of what is to be said. And it is not that this revelation is inaccessible or elitist. On the contrary, the Virgin Mary has always spoken to all her children, but unfortunately, not everyone is prepared to listen. The world is full of distractions, and only those who manage to silence their minds and pay attention to what really matters will be able to receive it. This message was sent specifically for you, who are seeking answers, protection, and guidance. It is no coincidence that you feel in your heart that something is changing, that things are no longer the same as before. The signs are everywhere, and Mary warned us that times of great tribulation are approaching. Who will be prepared to face them? Do you realize how this already touches your spirit? That feeling that something bigger is happening, something that goes beyond our daily worries. We are not talking about trivial problems, but about challenges that can completely change the course of your life and the lives of those you love, and you need to be ready. The Virgin Mary, in her infinite wisdom and compassion, has always been a powerful guide to all her children. She appears in moments of crisis to warn, protect, and give hope. His last message came at a critical time, and you were chosen to receive it now because time is short. We are facing a revelation that cannot be ignored. Whoever listens and acts will be protected. Those who ignore it can face very serious consequences. This video is just the beginning of this journey. Today you are invited to prepare your spirit, strengthen your faith, and join those who are also ready to hear what is to come. You can't face it alone. Faith and unity are our greatest weapons against the forces that will try to destabilize us. And that's exactly why you're here. If you reach this point, it means that your soul is searching for something deeper. You are looking for answers, and those answers will be given, but only to those who are ready to receive them with humility and devotion. The Virgin Mary knows what is to come and wants her children to be protected, ready to face any challenge that may arise. But remember, this message is not about fear. It is about hope, protection, and preparation. The Virgin Mary gives us the opportunity to be one step ahead, to understand what is coming, and to prepare ourselves spiritually. This is the time to strengthen your faith, to seek connection with the divine, and not to ignore the signs. As you listen to every word of this revelation, I want you to remember why you are here. It wasn't by chance. Believing in something bigger, in a spiritual force that guides and protects us, is what can make all the difference in the most difficult moments. Pay attention, the words that come now are deep and powerful. They cannot be forgotten or set aside, because for those who listen and believe, hope and salvation are within reach. For those who ignore, the trials will be much more difficult to endure. Continue with an open mind, a receptive heart, and a focused spirit. What you are about to hear now can change the course of your life and offer a new perspective for the challenging days ahead. The revelation continues. Imagine a quiet night in a forgotten corner of Mexico, where the warm desert wind blew gently, bringing with it the perfume of night flowers. Inside a small church, the lights, music, suddenly turned on. The atmosphere of deep devotion was interrupted by an indescribable transformation. A soft, almost ethereal light began to emanate from the altar, a light that no one there had seen before. The heavenly glow took control of the small church, and everyone felt that something supernatural was about to happen. It was a light that brought a feeling of infinite peace, but it also carried with it a mystery so deep that it seemed to touch the soul of every person present. The faithful, without knowing exactly what they were witnessing, were amazed. Their gazes, previously fixed on their prayers, were now trapped by the altar, from where that powerful light emanated. The feeling in the air was almost electric. Time seemed to have stopped, and everyone felt the spiritual weight of that moment. What was happening there was not something common, it was a miracle, and everyone knew it. As light filled the room, a figure began to form. The Virgin Mary appeared, floating gently above the altar, surrounded by an aura of serenity and power. Her eyes shone with a mixture of compassion and sadness, as if she were carrying the weight of all humanity in her heart. His presence was so powerful that the faithful, taken with a reverence they had never experienced before, fell to their knees. Everyone knew they were looking at something divine, but it wasn't just their vision that was impressive. There was something else, something that went beyond appearance. The air seemed to vibrate with an unknown energy, something that touched the heart and mind of each one present. Firstly, I would like to invite you to subscribe to this channel, because here I will be sharing a prophetic message for your heart every day. And don't forget to comment below your prayer request and tell me who you have been praying for in the last few days, your family, friends, for work, for healing. Make your prayer request below, and accompanied by your prayer request, also tell me what country you are from, so I know which countries our message is reaching. Amen. The Virgin Mary warns us of the importance of preparing ourselves through powerful prayers to achieve protection and salvation for our lives. So download now my digital book, The Powerful Prayer of the Virgin Mary. This material covers a variety of prayers suitable for all occasions in life. Don't waste your time. Click on the link available in the first pinned comment and download it immediately. Units are limited. Therefore, it is crucial to act now to ensure that access to the powerful prayer of the Virgin Mary should be now before units run out. And make sure to paste your book without the first comment posted. It is very important to heed the warnings of our Virgin Mary and prepare yourself for the great torment that will come. Comment below for protection. Type, "Free Lord from all evil and danger." I would like to invite you to pray right now, and pray, so don't forget to put your prayer request in the comments. If you have already done so, write it down. Amen. Let us pray for your life. Hail Mary, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Glory to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. As it was in the beginning, now and forever. Amen. Jaculatory. O my Jesus, forgive us, save us from the fires of hell, lead all souls to heaven, and help especially those who need it most. AM 5/24/09-26/2024. D1N. Welcome, sons and daughters. Today I have a direct message from my sacred heart for you. I, like your mother, have seen the pain that you have gone through. I have seen the afflictions, and at this moment, I want to communicate to you something that is about to happen in the world. So from now on, be attentive to my voice, and do not be distracted by anything. At this point, I will begin to reveal what is going to happen. That was a moment of transcendence, where the divine and the earthly met. It was as if the veil separating the spiritual world from the physical had been momentarily lifted, and everyone could feel the presence of something much larger. With a gentle gesture, the Holy Mother raised her hand. The simple movement brought with it a wave of peace that ran through the small temple. His voice, when he began to speak, was sweet, but carried a depth that penetrated the soul. Everyone knew that his words were not common. They carried a power, a spiritual weight that was impossible to ignore. At that moment, the faithful knew that they were being graced with a revelation. Something very important was about to be said, something that required total attention. The walls of the church seemed to vibrate with the energy of that moment. Every word, every look, every movement of the Virgin Mary carried a profound message, and what she was about to say would forever change the lives of everyone present. Can you imagine the intensity of that moment? The presence of the Virgin Mary filled the place with a mixture of serenity and solemnity. There was no longer any room for doubts or hesitation. Everyone knew that they were experiencing something that many would never have the opportunity to experience. They were receiving a direct message from heaven, and now you, too, are being invited to witness that revelation. What was said that night is about to be shared with you, word for word. But first, I must ask you something. Stay until the end, because every detail is important. Every word carries a deep meaning, and you can't afford to lose it. Keep accompanying and prepare. What you will hear now is not a story to forget. It is a call that will touch your spirit in the same way that it touched the hearts of the faithful in the small church in Mexico. And the revelation that is to come has the power to transform not only your life but also the way you see the world. The Virgin Mary appeared that night for a reason, and her message is not just for those who were present. It's for you. The presence of the Virgin Mary in that small church was almost indescribable. His body floated above the altar, enveloped in a light so intense that it seemed to come from another world. It was a perfect mix of compassion and sadness radiating from his eyes, as if he were carrying the weight of countless souls. The worshippers could barely breathe. The air was heavy with a spiritual energy they had never experienced before. Everyone knew, somehow, that this was a divine moment. Mary was there present before them, as in so many other moments of great crisis in the history of humanity, and this time her message would be different. It was a warning, a call for everyone to prepare for something that was about to happen, something that could shake the foundations of not only that small community, but entire nations. The silence was absolute. The murmur of prayers and whispers of devotion were quickly replaced by paralyzing reverence. The faithful, who had kneeled instinctively, did not even dare to look up. Despite not looking directly at her, they could feel the powerful aura emanating from the Holy Mother. His hands were slightly raised, as if offering protection and warning at the same time. They all felt deep in their hearts that what she was going to say was crucial. Little by little, Maria's voice filled the space and was different from anything they had heard before. It was soft, but charged with an almost palpable spiritual force. It was not an ordinary voice. It was a voice that penetrated beyond the ears, directly reaching the heart and soul of each one present. The impact of his words would be felt long after that night. She began to speak. "Dear children, challenging times are at our door. What is to come will test your faith in ways you never imagined." His words echoed in the silence, each one loaded with the weight of a profound truth. Everyone knew that the Virgin Mary was not there to offer superficial comfort. She was there to prepare, to warn about what was about to happen. Maria paused, and the church, already immersed in an atmosphere of reverence, became even quieter. Every person present felt the invisible weight of his words, as if each one were being etched directly into their souls. They knew something great was coming, and it was impossible to ignore the seriousness of the situation. His eyes, filled with deep compassion and pain, scanned the small group of worshippers. "The world as you know it is about to change," he continued, his voice firm and clear. "The coming events will shake the nations, and many will be tested." He spoke with a clarity that left no doubt. The times to come would be ones of great trial, and those who were spiritually unprepared could succumb to the weight of those adversities. What Maria said next made everyone's hearts freeze for a moment. "Mexico will be tested." His words echoed throughout the church, and a feeling of fear and reverence took over the atmosphere. "The forces that move in the shadows cannot be contained by human hands," he warned, "but those who maintain their faith, those who seek refuge in God and me, will be protected." The silence that followed was almost suffocating. Everyone knew that Mexico would face a test with it. It spoke of an approaching storm, not only in the literal sense, but also spiritually, something that would change everyone's lives. Maria warned that the coming months would be very challenging and that many would not understand what was happening. These would be times when everyone's faith would be tested to the max, and only those who turned to prayer and spirituality would be able to face what was to come. The faithful were immersed in a whirlwind of emotions. While they were afraid of what Mary announced, they also felt a certain relief, knowing that, having been warned, they still had time to prepare. They knew that the Virgin Mary's warning was not a simple warning. It was an opportunity, a chance to strengthen their spirits and prepare for the difficult times that were approaching. Mary made it clear that this was the time to reconnect with the divine, to seek refuge in prayers, and to prepare spiritually. From that moment on, each person's decisions would make a difference. Those who ignored the call might not survive the trials ahead. As she spoke, the eyes of the faithful were filled with tears. They did not know all the details of what was to come, but they knew that the Virgin Mary, in her infinite wisdom, was there to guide them. His message was clear: prepare. The atmosphere inside that small church in Mexico was charged with indescribable emotion. The faithful, still kneeling, felt the weight of each word of the Virgin Mary that floated above the altar like a heavenly presence. But the peace that his appearance brought soon gave way to a warning that no one there was prepared to hear. The silence, already intense, became almost suffocating. Every person there knew deep in their hearts that what would be revealed next would be a warning of earth-shattering proportions. "Challenging times are at our door," the voice of the Virgin Mary began, soft but heavy with a weight that pierced the air. The words penetrated deeply, echoing in the hearts and minds of the faithful like a wake-up call. It was not a common warning. It was something urgent, something that went beyond everyday difficulties. Those words spoke of something bigger, something that would shake the foundations of life as they knew it. Maria continued, "What is to come will not be easy. Trials will test their faith and their togetherness like never before. The foundations of this nation will be shaken in ways many cannot even imagine." These words carried with them palpable anxiety. Some worshippers began to look at each other, trying to process what all this really meant. The trials that shake nations are no ordinary challenges. What Mary was warning of was a transformation that would deeply touch the lives of all. The Virgin Mary's warning was not simple. It was not something that could be underestimated or ignored. It was a call to action, an invitation to spiritual preparation. The coming weeks and months would be challenging, and those not firmly anchored in their faith could be swept away by the storm that was about to form. "The storms are coming," she continued, "and they're not just physical." The tone of her voice changed slightly, taking on a greater seriousness, as if she wanted to make sure everyone heard her. He was not just talking about natural disasters or visible conflicts. The storms that would come would also be spiritual, invisible to the eyes but felt deeply in the soul. Evidence of almost suffocating seriousness. Many there had faces marked by fear and reverence. Others, with their eyes closed, prayed in silence, as if Mary's words had already begun to awaken in them a deep sense of need to reconnect with their spirituality. "The forces that are moving in the world now cannot be met with earthly actions alone," he continued. His words carried a wisdom that went far beyond the common. "What is coming now, only those who are deeply connected to God will be able to endure." He paused, as if giving time for each person there to process the meaning of what was being said. What Mary was revealing was nothing less than a spiritual war, something that would affect both the physical and the immaterial. People would be tested not only by their actions, but by their ability to maintain unwavering faith in the midst of darkness. She warned that many would try to look for answers in mundane things, in quick fixes, but only those who trusted in the power of prayer and spirituality would be able to resist the pressures that were coming. And then came the grimmest warning of all. Mexico will face times of great suffering and will not be alone. A powerful nation will rise against it, not with weapons, but with invisible and silent forces. The shock was immediate. The words of the Virgin Mary fell like a stone in the hearts of all those present. A great nation, moved by hidden interests and powers, was going to act against Mexico in a way that many would not perceive until it was too late. "You must prepare," he warned with a gravity that few there had felt before. The air in the small church seemed to cool, and the glow of the candles, which had previously illuminated the place with serenity, now seemed to reflect the seriousness of the moment. "Prayer will be your greatest weapon," he said. "Only through prayer and communion with the divine will you find peace in the midst of the storms that are to come." Mexico was about to face an immense test, and the Virgin Mary had issued a direct call to all those who were ready to listen. Prepare yourselves spiritually. What was to come would not just be a test of physical strength or social resistance, it would be a test of faith. His words filled the air with a sense of urgency. Hearts, once full of hope, were now heavy with worry and uncertainty. What will become of this nation? What's to come? The Virgin Mary, with her eyes sad but full of wisdom, closed this part of her message with a clear warning. Only those who seek spiritual refuge will be able to endure what is to come. The Virgin Mary's message had almost tangible weight. As his words echoed through the church, the faithful felt a paralyzing mix of emotions: fear, reverence, and deep introspection. The silence that followed was as thick as the spiritual atmosphere she had created. What Mary had just said was not a simple warning, it was a prophecy that demanded total attention and immediate spiritual preparation. Everyone there knew, deep in their souls, that they were not prepared for what was to come. How could they be? Daily life had never prepared them for a warning of this magnitude. A powerful nation acting in the shadows, an invisible storm that could not be fought with hands or weapons. The idea that Mexico was about to face such a huge challenge left everyone there with a heavy heart, but at the same time there was a small spark of hope. They had been warned. The Virgin Mary, in all her wisdom and compassion, had come personally to prepare them, and that meant there was still time. Time to act, time to prepare, time to strengthen your souls and your convictions. What she had said was not a simple warning, it was a call to action. Every person in the church felt the weight of responsibility. Mary had chosen them, as well as you, to be the first to know, the first to prepare for what was about to happen. But the question remained, can they do it? Can they strengthen their souls, their prayers, and their communities in time to confront the forces that are silently moving against them? The eyes of the faithful were fixed on the Virgin Mary, who continued to radiate that mixture of serenity and sadness. She knew that many there felt the weight of her words, like a ton of responsibility on their shoulders, and so she reassured them. "In the next steps, you are not alone," Maria said, with a voice that seemed to bring relief to the heart of everyone. "I will be with you every step of this journey." However, the seriousness of his words could not be ignored. The atmosphere, previously calm and wrapped in prayer, now seemed full of unanswered questions. What powerful nation would that be? What would be those silent forces that were approaching? Everyone there was trying to process the hidden meaning behind the warning, but Maria knew she couldn't reveal everything at once. The journey of faith also involves mystery, trust, and surrender. And she continued, "You don't need to understand all the details now, but you need to trust." His words penetrated hearts like a firm and solid promise, like a pillar of faith in the midst of the approaching chaos. Trust in the power of prayer, trust in the strength of your souls, and above all, trust in me, for I will be by each of you, even in the darkest hours. The air seemed to cool, as if even the walls of the small church understood the seriousness of the warning. Each candle seemed to waver with the intensity of the moment, and the looks of the faithful were one of pure devotion. Some already had tears in their eyes, not out of despair, but because they knew they were facing something far greater than any trial they had already faced. Mary was calling them to a spiritual struggle, a battle that would not be visible to the naked eye, but that would be felt deeply in their lives, in their families, and in their hearts. She emphasized that this fight would not be won by physical force, but by unwavering faith, by constant prayer, and by deep communion with the divine. Only through spirituality and connection with God would it be possible to face what was to come. And then, as if to make sure everyone there understood the gravity of his warning, he paused. The silence was absolute. The weight of his words still hung in the air. He looked at each one present, and it was as if he were looking directly into the soul of each worshipper, seeing their doubts, their fears, and their hopes. "You must prepare," he repeated with a softer voice, but loaded with authority. "It is not an ordinary preparation. You must connect with God every day. You must seek refuge in the most powerful prayers, those that reach directly to heaven. You must strengthen your hearts and your souls, because what is to come, my children, will put tests every fiber of your faith." The words of the Virgin Mary echoed through the sacred space. What was to come would not be easy, but at the same time, it would not be impossible for those who maintained a firm faith. And in the midst of that tension, he offered a glimmer of hope. "You are not alone. My protection is with you. But for that, you must act. You must be in communion with the divine. Your faith will be the shield that will protect you from the darkness that are about to fall." The Virgin Mary's final words that night resonated as a solemn reminder. The destiny of many is in your hands, and the future, though uncertain, can be faced with faith. Only through faith can you overcome what lies ahead. Come. The faithful, still kneeling, felt a new strength. Mary's message was not only a warning of danger, but also a call to spiritual union. They were not alone on this journey. And now, with a lighter heart, but still with the seriousness of the mission ahead, they knew what they had to do. Those who were prepared would know how to face the approaching storms, trusting in divine protection, prayers, and unwavering faith. And you are also being called to do the same. With the Virgin Mary's final words echoing in the hearts of the faithful, the sense of urgency was undeniable. "You must prepare," he had said. But what in fact did this preparation mean? How could they prepare for something so big, something that would not only affect the physical, but also the spiritual? How to face a storm that cannot be seen, but that is felt deeply in the soul? It was clear that the time to act had arrived. His message was clear. The faithful must prepare themselves spiritually, and this meant more than just continuing with their daily religious routines. A deeper commitment was needed, a connection that would go beyond simple words of prayer. Mary made it clear that the power of prayer would be the shield against the trials that lay ahead. Prayer would be the force that would unite hearts, minds, and souls, creating a spiritual barrier that would protect those who were ready to face the storms. But it would not be just any prayer. It would be powerful prayers, loaded with true faith, those that could touch heaven and bring divine comfort and protection. "Pray without ceasing," Mary had said. "You cannot fight alone. What is to come cannot be faced with the weapons of this world." And here was the key. What Mary was revealing was an invisible battle, a spiritual war that required preparation not only of the mind, but also of the soul. It was a war that would go beyond human strength, a war that could only be won with unwavering faith and deep communion with God. And how to prepare for something like this? First, it was necessary to create the habit of daily prayer. Not just a quick or mechanical prayer, but a moment of true spiritual connection. Each person should set aside time to get away from the distractions of the world and surrender to devotion. Prayer would become the foundation of spiritual resilience, the fuel that would keep faith alive even in the darkest moments. The Virgin Mary emphasized the importance of not praying alone. "Pray together, form communities of faith," he said. The union of their souls in prayer would create a spiritual strength that would be unbreakable. It was not the time to face the tests in isolation. Those who attempted to face them alone would be exposed to the forces that were already beginning to move in the shadows. Only in union and solidarity would it be possible to resist the approaching darkness. Spiritual preparation then began with the power of prayer, but it went far beyond that. Mary warned about the need for each person to cleanse their heart, Get rid of resentments, unresolved pain, and any emotional weight that could weaken the soul. What was to come would test not only his faith, but also his ability to forgive and love. You need to have a pure heart, free of resentment and bitterness, so that the divine light can dwell in you. This would not be an easy process, since spiritual purification would require total surrender, faith, and trust in God. Each one would have to examine themselves deeply, search within themselves what separated them from the true connection with the divine, and get rid of those emotional and spiritual barriers. Mary made it clear that there would be no room for doubt in the hearts of the faithful. Only those who had a firm faith and a pure heart could withstand the trials that lay ahead. But the preparation did not end there. Maria also warned about the need for families to unite in prayer. They must protect their homes, he said. Pray with your families. Pray for your loved ones. For when a family unites in prayer, it creates a protective shield that the forces of darkness cannot penetrate. Additionally, he asked people to do charity work. Prayer, he explained, will not be enough without action. Faith without works is dead, he recalled, repeating the words of the gospel. Those who were spiritually prepared should also reach out to the needy, the poor, the sick, and those who are most vulnerable to the trials ahead. Charity strengthens the soul, said Maria. It is through compassion and love of neighbor that you will be able to resist the temptations that will arise. People would be called to help their neighbors, care for those who were losing hope, and strengthen community ties. Because only in union would it be possible to get through the difficult times that were unfolding. But Mary not only spoke about the spiritual, he also warned about the importance of preparing physically. He asked people to store food, prepare their homes for times of scarcity, and be ready for days when society would face economic and social challenges. The storm that is coming will affect every aspect of their lives, Maria said. You need to be ready to support your families and your communities, even when resources are limited. This preparation, then, was complete, spiritual, emotional, and physical. The Virgin Mary made it clear that there would be no other opportunity like this to prepare. People had to act now, while there was still time. The spiritual and physical storm was approaching, and those who were not ready could be swept away by it. But those who listened to the call and followed Mary's guidance would find protection. They would know how to resist, and in the end, they would be purified, strengthened, and united in their faith. Spiritual preparation required more than words. It required a total transformation of the heart and soul. Those who listened and acted would not be alone, for Mary had promised, "I will be with you." The voice of the Virgin Mary resonated within the hearts of the faithful as a constant reminder of what was to come. No one could face difficult times alone. The spiritual preparation had already begun, but now it was time to take it a step further. Unity and solidarity would be the most powerful forces against the approaching storms. Those who attempted to endure alone would be more vulnerable to the trials, but together, as a community united by faith and love, they could endure. They are not alone, Maria said, her voice soft. United of their hearts and spirits, they will find the strength necessary to overcome the challenges that lie ahead. It was a clear call, an invitation for all to come together as brothers and sisters, strengthened by a common faith. She knew that difficult times would test not only individual resilience, but also the ability to commune with others. Faith was not to be maintained only within four walls, in solitary prayers. Each person was called to connect with their brothers and sisters, to strengthen spiritual and emotional ties with those around them. Because in the darkest moments, it would be that connection that would keep the flame of hope burning. He made a powerful call. Gather in prayer. Do not let the barriers of pride, resentment, or indifference separate you. It is time to tear down those walls and build bridges, because together you will be unbreakable. For those who felt alone, who believed their faith was an individual journey, the Virgin Mary showed a different path. The strength of community would be vital. Maria spoke directly about how the times ahead would test not only people individually, but also as a society. Conflicts, divisions, and tensions would arise, and people would be tempted to turn against each other. Fear would be a silent enemy, capable of sowing distrust and hatred. But as he warned, this would be a trap by the invisible forces that were already at work in the world. The only way to resist would be to maintain the unbreakable union, protecting each other. Solidarity would be the key to overcoming these times. Mary insisted that the faithful could not ignore the needs of their neighbors, friends, and even strangers. Those who have faith must be the support for those who are losing hope, he said. You must be light to those who are in darkness. Every act of kindness, every gesture of help would be a way to strengthen not only others, but also oneself. Helping others would be the way to protect yourself. Charity will be your greatest weapon, said Maria. The love you show for each other will create an invisible shield of protection against the forces that will seek to destroy your communities. His words resonated as a clear order. Mutual aid was to be put into practice immediately. Those who had more resources, more time, or more physical strength should volunteer to help those who faced greater difficulties. This would be the true spirit of the preparation. To emphasize this point, Mary reminded that during the trials to come, many people would lose their faith. They would look at the chaos around them and wonder, where is God? And in those times, those who were spiritually strengthened should be the beacons of hope. Not only with words of comfort, but with concrete gestures of support. Mary said, "You will be the instruments of the divine in this world. Through your actions of compassion, people will believe again. It will be your gestures of love that will show that God never abandoned them." It was an enormous responsibility, but she assured that those who chose this path of love and solidarity would not be alone. She would be at each one's side, guiding and strengthening their hearts. Spiritual preparation was not only an individual path, but also a shared path. Each person would be called to live their faith not only within their prayers, but through charity, compassion, and union with others. The more people came together, the stronger the spiritual shield would be against the challenges ahead. Only in union could the storm be faced. Mary made one last request before continuing her message. Today, you must begin to prepare, but do it together. Gather in prayer, help each other, because what is to come cannot be faced alone. It was a direct call to those who still believed they could resist in isolation. No one would win alone. The Virgin Mary was there to ensure that everyone knew this. He stressed that families should pray together, that communities should come together to find strength, and that everyone should offer a helping hand to those who need it most. The union will be the greatest miracle of all, said Maria, with a twinkle in her eye. Only when they understand this will they be truly prepared for what is to come. The faithful felt his words as a renewal of hope. Yes, times would be difficult, but together they could face anything. Collective faith, prayer together, and solidarity would be their greatest weapons. And with Mary by their side, they knew that no matter what happened, they would have the strength necessary to overcome any adversity. Despite the weight of the Virgin Mary's warnings, there was one essential truth that she made sure to convey. Hope should never be abandoned. No matter how strong the gathering storm was, no matter how dark the horizon, there would always be a light guiding those who had faith and trust in the divine. And that light, as she promised, would never go out for those who chose to remain steadfast in their prayers and faith. Even in the darkest moments, Mary said, there will be an invisible force at your side. I will be with you, and God will never abandon his children. His words were like a balm for the souls. At that moment, they were already beginning to feel the weight of future tribulations. It was as if she were granting each person present the certainty that although the trials would be intense, they would never be alone. There would be a divine hand guiding, protecting, and most importantly, offering hope. Maria made it clear that, as much as the difficulties were inevitable, they would not be the end. They would be a purification process. Every challenge, every obstacle, every test would come as a way to strengthen those who kept the faith. It would be like fire purifying gold. Souls that remained faithful would emerge stronger, purer, and closer to God. You need to understand, he said in a soft but firm voice, that these trials are not a punishment, they are an opportunity, a chance to grow spiritually, to connect more deeply with God and with your brothers. This was the crucial point of his message. The difficulties that were to come would be a form of transformation. Whoever chose to see challenges as an opportunity to get closer to the divine, to strengthen their faith, would emerge from tribulations much stronger. The faithful listened attentively, many with tears in their eyes. What Mary was offering was more than a warning. It was a promise that, despite the adversities, there would be a greater purpose in everything that happened. They would not be subjected to such tests without reason. There was a divine plan at work, and the result of that plan would be a purification, a spiritual rebirth. But Mary knew that even with that promise, many would still feel the fear of the unknown, the fear of loss, the fear of the physical and spiritual trials that lay ahead. So he offered a message of comfort. You don't need to face this with fear, he told them. Fear is the weapon that darkness will use against you, but faith, trust in God, will be the shield that will protect you. Fear will only have power over those who allow themselves to be dominated by it. For those who choose faith, fear will have no place in their hearts. Mary promised that faith would bring deep calm, even in the midst of the greatest of storms. You may feel chaos around you, he said, but within you there will be peace, because you will be connected to the divine. He also talked about the signs that would come, and how they would often be misinterpreted. Do not see the signs of destruction as an end, he warned them. These signs will be the harbinger of a new beginning. Every storm, every tribulation will be like a spiritual cleansing, removing impurities and opening space for something new, something stronger. Mexico and the world around it will emerge from these difficult times more resilient, more united, and with a renewed faith. He reminded everyone that the signs of transformation would not only be in major catastrophes. It would not be only through earthquakes or storms that changes would occur. There would also be a subtle transformation in people's hearts. Many would begin to feel an inner restlessness, a search for something deeper, a desire to reconnect with the spiritual. These would be the first signs of the great purification that was to come. Pay attention to the small signs, he said. Pay attention to the changes in hearts that are being transformed. This will be the beginning of the true spiritual change that is about to happen. The hearts of those who stand firm in their faith will begin to illuminate others in the darkness. Hope then would be the greatest gift that the Virgin Mary left behind. No matter how dark the times may seem, he instructed them, always remember that the light will never be extinguished. He urged them to hold on to that hope as if it were the last flame in the midst of darkness, because that hope would be their guide. By doing so, they would not only save themselves, but they would help save many others who would be lost in the midst of tribulations. You will be the light in the darkness, said Mary. Each of you has the power to guide those who have lost their way. Your faith, your hope, and your love for others will be the lighthouse that many will follow. It was a mission he entrusted to them, a divine responsibility that could not be underestimated. And for those who choose to follow this path, Mary promised protection and guidance. What was coming was big, difficult, but also necessary. The faithful understood that by preparing themselves spiritually and coming together in solidarity, they would not only survive the storm, but they would emerge from it stronger, more united, and more enlightened. Faith would be your greatest shield and hope your guiding light. With a soft but strong smile, Maria reminded them, "You are not alone. My protection will be with you every step of this journey." With these words, hearts, previously heavy with worry, now felt a new lightness, a certainty that, despite everything, they would be able to face what was coming. At the end of her message, the Virgin Mary offered one last clear direction. It is time to act. The words he had conveyed were not mere distant warnings or abstract spiritual theories. They were an urgent call, a direct request for each to begin their preparation immediately. There was no more time to waste. The storm was already forming on the horizon, and those who ignored its signals would be in danger. "Now is the time to act," Maria said, her voice soft but full of firmness. They must prepare themselves spiritually, physically, and emotionally, but they cannot do it alone. Individual faith was essential, but not sufficient. He insisted again on the importance of unity, solidarity, and collective strengthening. The approaching spiritual battle would not be won by a single heart, but by a community united and moved by faith. But what did it mean in practice to act now? Mary left clear instructions on how each person could prepare. First, he reiterated the importance of prayers. Prayer will be your greatest shield against the invisible forces that are already on the move, he said. But it would not be enough to pray only in times of desperation. It was necessary to create the habit of daily, deep, and sincere prayer. Maria stressed that prayer should be a daily commitment, a sacred moment that would allow them to pray in their homes, to pray with their families. Every time you come together in prayer, you create a circle of protection around yourself, he explained. Prayer was not only a request for help, but a way to strengthen the spirit, to shield oneself against negative energies that would try to destabilize faith and trust in God. She invited everyone to look for powerful prayers, those that have been passed down from generation to generation, prayers that, as she said, directly touch the heart of God. Mary promised that words of faith have power, and that those who remain faithful in their prayers will find peace, even when chaos is around. In addition to prayer, Mary emphasized the need for practical preparation. They must be prepared, he said, not only spiritually, but also physically. The Virgin Mary knew that the difficulties ahead would not only be spiritual, but also material. He warned that times of scarcity and economic hardship would affect Mexico, and that many could be caught by surprise if they did not begin to prepare now. "Store food, prepare your homes," he warned. What is coming will not only be a spiritual war, but a crisis that will affect all aspects of life. He mentioned that political and economic pressures were moving in the shadows, and that people would need to be ready to resist these tensions. The consequences of the actions of the previously mentioned great nation would not be felt immediately, but would begin to manifest gradually, affecting them. "They must be ready," Maria repeated. "Only those who are spiritually and physically prepared will be able to face what is to come without losing faith." He also spoke about the importance of sharing what you have with those who are most vulnerable. Charity, he recalled, is a way to strengthen faith and shield the heart against despair. Help the poor, care for the sick, welcome the hopeless. He said, only through compassion and love will you be able to overcome what is to come. And then Mary revealed the most urgent point of her message. "Time is short," she said, looking tenderly at the faithful. "The forces are already in motion. What will happen soon cannot be avoided, but they can be ready." There was urgency in his voice, a last plea for people not to ignore his message. This is no longer the time for doubts or hesitation. Everyone must act now, before it is too late. He also mentioned that the signs were already around. Those who pay attention will see that changes have already begun to manifest. Restless hearts, rising tensions, spreading feelings of despair. All of this is part of the harbinger of trials to come. But for those who keep their eyes open, divine signs will also be present. small miracles, moments of light and hope that will emerge in the midst of trials. "Look at the signs in heaven and on earth," said Mary. "The great changes that are coming will not only be disasters, but also internal and spiritual transformations. The world around you will begin to speak, both visible and invisible." It was a warning for each one to be attentive, with a heart prepared to recognize the moments when God would intervene, even in the most difficult situations. At the end of her message, Mary made a final call to faith. "Do not lose hope," she said. "Even in the darkest hours, God's light will continue to shine." His voice was soft, but charged with a force that seemed to penetrate directly into the souls of those present. "You are not alone, and you never will be. I will be by each of you, guiding and protecting you through the storm." He asked once again that each person gathered there commit to faith and action. "Put your faith into practice," he said. "Pray, help, love. Only in this way will you be able to resist the darkness that is about to fall on the world." And with a final gesture of blessing, he reminded them that what was to come would not be the end, but a new beginning, a time of purification, rebirth, and spiritual strengthening. "You have the key," he told them. "The light is in your hands. There is no more time to wait. Act now." Imagine being in your home with your family and friends, or even alone, wrapped in the mystery and peace that this prayer brings. Every Hail Mary, every Our Father, is like a rose petal offered to the heavens, bringing grace and blessings upon you and your loved ones. The times ahead will be challenging, but do not fear, for you are not alone. Together, in prayer, we are stronger. The power of collective prayer is immense, resonating like a powerful cry that reaches the heavens. In your homes, create a sanctuary of prayer and devotion. Keep an image or icon of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, a symbol of her continuous protection over you. And when you hold the rosary, know that Mary is by your side, guiding your steps and holding your hands. Purify yourselves through confession and communion, seeking the Eucharist as a source of life and strength. May your souls always be prepared to receive the graces that Jesus wishes to pour upon you. So, dear ones, pray without ceasing, for in every Hail Mary, in every Our Father, is the promise of peace and divine protection. May the Holy Rosary be your light, your shield, and your strength, today and always. Create a safe haven against all storms. Beloved, Mary's love for you is vast as the oceans, and she desires for each one to be protected and safe. Trust in your Heavenly Mother and in her Son, so that no shadow can eclipse the radiance of divine love. Pray tirelessly, live in peace, and be prepared for the challenges ahead, for with God, nothing is impossible. When darkness threatens to engulf the world, remember the constant presence and unwavering protection of Mary. She's here to guide you, comfort you, and protect you, even when the challenges seem insurmountable. The secret to overcoming these difficult times lies in the fervent prayer of the Holy Rosary. Each Hail Mary, each Our Father, lifts your supplications to heaven, drawing divine mercy upon you and the world. My dear children, I know the times may seem terrifying, but be assured that you are under my protection and that of my Son, Jesus Christ. Nothing can separate you from the love of God. Stand firm in the faith, for I am always interceding for you. Every act of love contributes to the triumph of divine love. God has a wonderful plan for each of you, even amid adversity. Be prepared, for a deep darkness is about to fall upon the world. 3 days of great trial and purification are coming. As your Heavenly Mother, I desire to guide and protect you during this dark time. Remember that the light of God always prevails, even in the darkest hours. Nothing is more vital now than staying in your homes, for there you will find safety when darkness surrounds the outside world. The Rosary prayed as a family, with fervor and devotion, is a fortress. Each meditated mystery strengthens the soul and attracts divine mercy. I will be by your side, interceding incessantly, welcoming your prayers, and offering them to the heart of Jesus. Do not let fear consume you, For faith in God will be your light in the darkest nights. Firmly believe that the light of Christ will prevail over any darkness. Before the darkness settles in, seek confession and communion. Prepare yourselves to receive the graces that God wishes to pour upon you. Be instruments of love and solidarity, reflecting divine love and strengthening the community. The Word of God is balm for the spirit, renewing your strength and hope. Following the teachings of my divine Son is the way to radiate that love to the world, loving one another as He loved us. Charity is the language of divine love. Be the voice, the hands and the heart of God in the world, and together we will transform darkness into light, uncertainty into faith, and despair into hope. In acts of kindness, we find Jesus. Strengthening our faith in the Holy Eucharist, we experience the real presence of Christ, a transforming union that renews our souls and nourishes our hope. Participating in the Holy Mass and receiving the Eucharist with love and reverence connects us to an inexhaustible source of strength, renewing our hope each day. As a loving mother, I will always be by your side, ready to guide and protect you. Surrender your worries and fears to me. Trust that I will lead you to the heart of Jesus, where you will find peace and answers to your prayers. United in faith and prayer, we are stronger because God knows us intimately and desires the best for our lives. Therefore, trust in Him fully, allowing His peace to reign in your hearts. Guiding each step with love and mercy, my beloved. The love I feel for you is as vast as the sky and as deep as the ocean. Like a mother who protects her children with her mantle, I am always by your side, wrapping you in my protection.